That's the military disaster we call Rosebud. Welcome to the Disney Scrapbook, where together we take a journey to explore Disney history from 50 years ago. My name is Nolan. Today, I thought we would start to take a look at Disney's Western comedy film, One Little Indian, released in the United States on June 20th, 1973. Hollywood writer Harry Spalding wrote the original plot loosely based on true events, where a fugitive from the U.S. cavalry, Corporal Clint Keyes, played by the talented James Garner, is attempting to escape from an army brigade on a cantankerous camel named Rosie. And when heading across the New Mexico desert, he stumbles upon 10-year-old Mark, played by Clay O'Brien, a runaway white boy raised by Cheyenne Native Americans. Harry Spalding started out by writing short stories and newspaper articles before going into the theater business as a film book buyer in San Francisco. Here, he came in contact with film producer Robert L. Lippert, who asked him to read and critique scripts that his company was preparing to shoot in Hollywood. Consequently, when Lippert was hired by 20th Century Fox to make low-budget films, Harry Spalding was engaged to write scripts, which may explain why One Little Indian comes across as a low-budget film. Harry Spalding would often write under the pseudonym Henry Cross, because he often wrote up to 6 scripts a year. An interesting piece of Americana, as hard as it may be to believe, is the fact that camels were once a common sight in the deserts of the southwest of the United States. Established in 1856, the U.S. Camel Corps operated for about 10 years, supplying transportation and communication from Texas to California. In 1855, Jefferson Davis, Secretary of War, authorized Major Henry C. Wayne to investigate the feasibility of using camels in American deserts for expansion purposes and in the Indian Wars. The animals for the experimental Camel Corps arrived from Arabia at Indianola, Texas on February 10, 1856. After getting used to the animals' strange appearance, smell, and mannerisms, the animals soon gained respect, as 3 camels could carry as much as 6 mules could pull in a wagon, could travel twice as fast as mules, and could carry as much as 1,000 pounds each for short distances. The camels carried water for horses and mules, often getting none themselves, and easily navigated ground that they couldn't. By the time the Civil War started, the Camel Corps was a successful operation. But when the Confederacy took over their headquarters at Camp Verde in Texas, it began to decline. When the North reclaimed Camp Verde at the end of the war, it was too late for the camels, who had been mistreated and poorly managed. Besides, the North had heavily invested in railroads, which alleviated the need for camels. When the Camel Corps was abandoned, the camels were sold to circuses and zoos. Some were turned loose in the desert, while others remained forgotten at the cavalry outpost. One Little Indian was set in the late 1800s after the Camel Corps has been disbanded, but pairs James Garner as a fugitive from the U.S. cavalry with a cantankerous, obstinate remnant of the Corps, a camel named Rosebud, who provides the film with tension-breaking comic relief. The Grand Canyon, Utah provides an absolutely stunning backdrop for the film's location, near the town of Kanab, just north of the Arizona state line in the Kaibab National Forest. In fact, the full facade of the cabin used in the film can be viewed at the Little Hollywood Museum in Kanab. Shooting also took place in Zion National Park at Lake Powell, and at the 20th Century Fox Ranch in Malibu, California. In 1974, this ranch was purchased by the state of California, and in 1976 opened as Malibu Creek State Park, and it was probably here that the river bathing scene was shot. Cinematographer Charles F. Wheeler produced some absolutely stunning photography of Utah in this film. During World War II, he was a combat photographer for the Navy. In 1970, he was nominated for an Academy Award for his work on the film depicting the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Tor, tor, tor. In college, Wheeler was a member of the University of Southern California's polo team, where he was often observed playing with Walt and Roy Disney. The Disney brothers would later offer Wheeler his first job as an apprentice cameraman. He would serve as cinematographer for the Disney Studios on such films as The Barefoot Executive and Charlie and the Angel, both of which I have previously reviewed and will leave a link to in the description below. After One Little Indian, he was the cinematographer on such Disney films as Freaky Friday, The Catch from Outer Space, The Lost Flight of Noah's Ark, and Condor Man. When receiving the President's Award from the American Society of Cinematographers in 2001, Wheeler said, "Photography is photography, whether you're shooting a free-camera comedy on stage or a dramatic film on location." Disney legend Winston Hibler was the producer on this film, his previous theatrical credit having been for the drama Napoleon and Samantha, which I have previously reviewed and will leave a link to in the description below. He joined the Disney Studios in 1942, bringing with him experience as a stage actor and radio scripter, first serving as a dialogue director and storyman on animated pictures such as Cinderella, Alice in Wonderland, and Peter Pan. His distinctive voice was then used as the narrator of the True Life Adventure series. When the studio first began producing nature films in 1946, Hib would record test narration to check story continuity. Walt recognized Hib's talent for relaxed, well-paced delivery, and cast him as the narrator on Seal Island, the first True Life. He continued to narrate the entire series, as well as helping write both scripts and narration. He would also narrate the People and Places series. He was also given the opportunity to direct some outstanding True Life Adventure films: The Olympic Elk, Water Birds, Beaver Valley, and The Vanishing Prairie. He combined all three talent on Men Against the Arctic, which won an Academy Award, and on Operation Undersea, a television special that dramatized the filming of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which won an Emmy in 1955. He would go on to produce many films for Disney. In One Little Indian, his production skills were put to the test when production didn't go smoothly. However, I get ahead of myself, as we will learn more about these mishaps and accidents in part 2 of the series. One Little Indian's director, Vernon Mcveady, had plenty of experience directing episodes of television western series. He was one of 3 brothers that had extensive directing and writing careers at the Disney Studios. Napoleon and Samantha was the first film that Vernon Mcveady had directed for Disney, having mainly worked in the medium of TV. He directed 52 episodes of Gunsmoke, and various episodes for numerous TV series, being particularly successful with westerns, which would explain why he was chosen to direct this particular Disney film. Filming for One Little Indian did not go altogether smoothly. As the cast and crew flew into Kanab, Utah for the first day of location shooting, lightning struck the airplane. Heavy drizzle met the plane at the 400-yard private airstrip and continued for the following 2 days, holding up production. The weather was beautiful once the heavy rain stopped, reported Bernard Mcveady. But the rain had caused flooding, and we had to issue late production calls for the rest of the first week to allow for nearby shooting sites to dry out. Eventually, filming started on September 18th, 1972. Thank you for joining me on this adventure that will be continued in part 2 of this series, where we will explore the actors, their respective stuntmen, and the numerous accidents that befell the creating of this film. I strongly suggest that before you watch part 2 of my series, you go ahead and watch One Little Indian for yourself. It is available on iTunes, YouTube, Amazon Prime, Google Play, and of course DVD. If you enjoyed this type of 50th anniversary content, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. The Disney Scrapbook channel will be producing other 50th anniversary content throughout the year that will include reviews of Disney films, LPs, books, and theme park content. See you in part 2. Thanks everybody for watching. TTFN. Ta-da for now.